let's see, post-judgment motion, emergency motion for custody, which was marginally granted, and we'll need to discuss that motion today. So let's have everyone identify themselves for the record, starting with the plaintiff's counsel, I should say.
That's okay. Good morning, Your Honor. Don Cretella for Theodora Antar.
And sir?
Matthew Lodice.
Okay. Attorney Cretella, your client's on the call, right?
Correct.
Okay, and Ms. Antar, you should probably turn on your video. There we go. Okay. All right. So my first question, Attorney Cretella, is for you, and that is, it looks to me like we have a hearing next week, April 5th. And I think Family Relations is in the middle of some work with the couple.
Okay, that's true.
Let's see. So is this motion today something that is going to be consumed with what we're doing on April 5th? Should we try and do it all together, or is this something discrete that you think we can deal with today?
I mean, globally, yes, it can be discussed or it could be dealt with on the 5th. But you know, the short answer is yes, it can be dealt with on the 5th. I don't know if Ms. Antar wishes to defer to the 5th, but I guess that would be up to the court.
Well, I think the question really is for the person whom this affects, which is Mr. Lodice. So,
right.
Because there are some kind of not very impactful, but temporary orders that say that while the orders remain in effect, the child won't be alone with the stepbrother. So that would have to remain in place until the 5th. So, Mr. Lodice, is that something that...
No, I'd like to address this now, please, Your Honor. I've been not able to see my daughter. She's been keeping my daughter from me in the last 9 weeks. In the last 9 or 10 weeks, I've only seen my daughter once, and I have not been able to talk to her. She's not letting me speak to her, so I would really like to address this right now.
All right, Attorney Cretella, the temporary orders say that the child custody and access remain the same, so that should not have been happening the last couple of weeks. You're aware of that. Okay, then
yes.
Fine. We will have the hearing. We'll do it today.
The only thing, Your Honor, I would suggest is that's not going to change anything. The orders are the orders. You're not going to, change the orders to make them more beneficial to Mr. Lodice at this point. The only thing that now that we're here to address today would be whether or not the child can be alone with the son.
Well, I think Mr. Lodice is saying that the existing orders aren't being followed.
Oh, I understand that,
and I'd like to understand why that is.
Okay, we can, you can do that. I mean, that's fine. I mean, but listen, it's my name's not on the front door of the courtroom.
Look, I understand your point that the only thing that's down for hearing today is whether or not this restriction is lifted. But if the restriction is the reason why your client's been withholding access, then we're going to tackle that. I don't need to tell you or your client, who I believe is represented, she's a law student, that when court orders are in place, we expect them to be followed. So it is, of course, disturbing to me that I would hear that court orders are not being followed. All right, so we'll go ahead.
That's fine. My suggestion would be, Your Honor, maybe we just deal with that issue. You can talk to Ms. Antar. We can. I can inquire about that issue, and because I guess my point is, if other than what's before the court today, if we want to go forward on everything that Mr. Lodice wants to go forward on, we're actually going to have a full-blown custody hearing today.
I see your point. However,
and I'm not prepared for that, first of all.
What I have is down for today is an emergency application for custody indicating that by another judge who indicated that the minor child wouldn't be left alone with a stepbrother,
Correct.
and all underlined twice other custody access and visitation orders remain in effect and are not disturbed by this order. So
I agree.
You can go forward. Mr. Lodice does not want these orders to continue. You can go forward on your request for emergency custody, whatever that entails. I don't know.
Okay.
And then we'll, I imagine in the course of that, I'll hear something about why the current orders aren't being followed.
Fair enough.
All right. How would you like to proceed?
I would like to inquire of Ms. Antar.
Okay. Would you swear Ms. Antar in, please?
You're on mute, Ms. Antar.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? So please say I do.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Theodora Antar, 856 Shadbark Drive, Orange, Connecticut, 06477.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
Yes.
Ms. Antar, we're here today on a emergency hearing, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you have a daughter?
Yes.
What are her initials?
AL.
And how old is AL?
3.
And recently, well, let me withdraw that. You filed a motion for an emergency hearing today, correct?
Yes.
And you have reason to believe that your daughter is in physical and or emotional distress, correct? Danger.
Yes.
Can you tell the court why that is? As succinctly as possible, please.
Due to the 2 current active criminal investigations that are in place, I feel my daughter is in danger that Matthew might try to take her again like he did and expose her to being in danger of being sexually abused, like she's disclosed to me that she was.
All right. Well, let's get to the point in terms of. I'm not really that interested. I don't think the court's interested in other proceedings or investigations. What we're here to figure out is why you think your daughter is in danger. What has happened to your daughter that you believe she has been mistreated and or would be continued to be mistreated?
So since February 1st, my daughter disclosed to me that she was being abused while in the care of Matthew. I immediately reported it to DCF and the police. Subsequently, we had investigations, and I informed everybody from DCF and the police that I would, for her own safety, be planning to keep her with me throughout the remainder of those investigations for her own safety. And I was told that Matthew also agreed that it was in her best interest to remain with me throughout the investigations. And
right, so
can I object? Who told you that? Like, objection hearsay. She's saying somebody said that I said something.
It's not hearsay.
Well,
it is.
I'm hold on. I'm just trying to figure out, like, you will get a chance to ask her about these things. Let me see what the context is first. Okay. You can take notes if you want, sir. You'll be able to ask questions.
Thank you.
Right. So, Ms. Antar, let's, and normally I know it's not, I shouldn't be doing it, but Your Honor, would it be okay if I led the witness maybe just a little bit, give me a little latitude?
That's fine. Because there have been, Attorney Credella, because there have been so many accusations leveled by your client against this father and the other fathers that she has cases with in this court, I'm going to need some details of when, her vague assertions that the child is abused is not going to do it. I need to understand what exactly she's talking about. So yes, you can certainly ask her some leading questions.
Thank you. All right. So, Miss Antar, when did you first become aware that your daughter was being abused?
in October of 2022.
Okay. And what did she tell you? How did you become aware?
My child told me.
What did she tell you?
At that time, she said that she was being tickled in her private area by her older brothers.
Okay. When you say older brothers, who, and again, I think if they're mine, just on the safe side, just give their initials.
DL and SL.
Okay. And do you know how old DL and SL are?
DL is 16 and SL is around 11.
Okay. And under what circumstances was your daughter exposed to DL and was it SL? SL, DL, and SL?
Yes. Matthew typically leaves the child with both of those alone, unsupervised during his parenting time.
So they're babysitting.
Correct.
And when in October of 22, when your daughter told you this, what did you do?
I spoke about it to my therapist, who then told me to call DCF and said she would call DCF if I did not. So I then reported it to DCF.
All right. And at some point, excuse me, DCF opened an investigation. Is that correct?
Correct. And a police investigation.
Okay. And subsequent to that, were there any more allegations in 2022 from your daughter?
Not in 2022.
Okay. So you didn't, from October of 22 till December of 22, there was no further allegations, correct?
Correct.
And were there times that your daughter was alone with these two young men?
Yes. Almost
Okay.
every time that she was with Matthew.
All right. So then at some point there are more allegations, correct?
Yes.
And when are they?
It first began on February 1st, 2023.
All right. And what allegations were made specifically?
So specifically on that day of February 1st, my daughter stated to me that she was making sexual motions on top of a stuffed animal. And I asked her, what are you doing? And she stated, I'm doing what Dom does to me, referring to her 16-year-old brother. Okay. And I captured this on video.
When you say you captured a video, you captured her telling you on video. You didn't capture her allegations on video, which she's alleging, correct?
I captured her sexually humping the stuffed animal in what appeared to be a sexual manner, and I recorded me speaking to her and our conversation, during which she stated, this is what he does to me, and then proceeded to demonstrate.
Okay. And then just for the record, I think the person you're referring to is 16 years old, so maybe his first name was mentioned, maybe we could strike that. All right. So in February, were there any allegations after that?
Yes.
When were they?
The next allegation after that happened on February 3rd.
Okay. And what were those allegations?
It was the same type of scenario where the child was making sexual motions on top of a stuffed animal, and I asked her what she was doing, and she just said, she just told me that she's doing what the minor brother does to her.
Right. You can refer him by his initials. It's easier.
Yeah.
All right. So, and were there any other allegations between February and today?
Yes, there were several. There was another. The next one was on February 10th.
Okay.
The child
continue. I'm sorry.
Yes, on February 10th, same scenario. I walk into my living room. I find the child humping her toy. I say to her, what are you doing? The child states, doing what DL does to me, while having her legs wide open in the air. I said, show me. She puts the stuffed animal under her vagina, starts humping and grinding it in a sexual manner, saying that's what DL does to me. And I also recorded all of these interactions, and the police,
all right. All right. So when you have these conversations, do you inquire further of your daughter about specifics?
Yes, as much as I can.
All right. Did she ever say and I'm not saying these happened, but just for example, did he ever say that she ever say that DL removed any of her clothing, touched her underneath her clothing, said anything while any of these things were going on?
Yes, multiple times.
Specifically, tell me specifically. I gave a lot of examples. Give me specifically what went on.
Yes. Sorry, just looking here in my notes. So I just wanted to note that, on February 22nd, she again was doing the behavior and again said the same thing, that she was doing what DL does to her while helping the toy. And then moving forward, there was, sorry.
Attorney Cretella, what's the question that's pending here?
Specifics about
Yes.
what went on.
What I'd like to know is what happened with the DCF investigations, what happened with the police investigations.
Okay, let me inquire about that. So initially, when you made the complaint in October, you had indicated DCF and the police department open investigations, correct?
Correct.
And which police department was that in October?
The New Britain Police Department.
All right. And what was the result, if you know, of the DCF investigation?
The DCF
At that time?
It was closed.
Okay. What about the police investigation in October?
Her objection, she's saying it's closed. That doesn't say what was the result of the investigation. She just said it was closed. She didn't say whether it was substantiated or unsubstantiated.
Because that wasn't my question.
You said what was the results of the DCF investigation. That's not the results. The results were as unsubstantiated.
If she knows,
Okay.
the outcome would be helpful.
Do you know?
So that investigation in October, they determined that there was no abuse or neglect at the time. The police investigation was closed, but I was told that if any future disclosures come up, to immediately report it again. And I do have more.
Hang on, wait. There's no, that answered the question. Okay. So then you said after that there was no allegations or no reports to you of anything that happened in the rest of 2022, correct, from your daughter?
Yes.
So then 2023, February, you get some, your daughter discloses more information, correct?
Yes.
And then you contact DCF, correct?
Yes.
And you contacted, was it again the New Britain Police Department?
DCF did.
Okay. So they're mandatory reporters as far as you know?
Yes.
All right. So is there a current investigation going on with DCF?
Yes. There's 2 current investigations.
With DCF?
Correct.
And what about the New Britain Police Department?
There's 2 open criminal investigations.
Okay. And you have cooperated with DCF, correct?
Yes, and the police.
And the police. And you've actually gone down to the New Britain Police Department to give statements, correct?
Correct.
So that's where we stand with those, right?
And I can also
No.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Attorney Cretella, is it true that you want to ask about the child's contact with the father in since these allegations? I would like to know what's going on.
Okay.
You want me to, or
So,
I'll ask. I'll ask.
yeah,
It's fine.
absolutely. Feel free.
All right. So, ma'am, who's the DCF worker you're working with on these cases?
To my knowledge, it's Lorraine Plummer.
And who's the police officer?
The main detective is Detective Lisa Steves from the New Britain Police Department.
And when's the last time that your daughter saw her father?
The last time that she saw him was on March 12th.
He started this hearing by alleging that you're not letting him see the child. Is that true?
That's correct.
All right. You're aware that there's court orders on your application that say that he continues to see the child on the regular schedule?
Yes.
Okay. So you're not following those court orders?
I can explain if you like.
Just
Okay. Have you talked to Anna? Have you talked to Family Relations about these new allegations?
No.
Okay. I'm going to have the Family Relations officer who's doing the custody evaluation review the file and call the police officers, call the DCF workers, because obviously that's information that everyone would want her to have for next week. Okay. All right. Any other witnesses, Attorney Critell?
I think so, yes. Anthony Zupardi.
And who's that?
He is a friend of Miss Antar. And I would, after he's sworn in, I'll ask him to give an offer of proof, basically, of what he would testify to.
That'd be helpful.
No
Okay. If Mr. Zupardi's here, he can dial in or turn his camera on.
Okay.
All
Can
right.
you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Would you swear him in, please?
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? So please say I do.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Zupardi, 5 North Ridgeland Road, Wallingford, Connecticut, 06492.
May I inquire?
Yes.
So, Mr. Zupardi, you've listened to what was going on so far here today, correct?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any direct knowledge of the allegations made by Miss Antar?
Well, I mean, I brought it up to her a while ago. I'm a trained firefighter, EMT, EMR. I mean, I went through child sex trafficking and many courses on this, and I was watching the child over the summer, and I said she exhibited many signs of abuse. And I said that, I'm a mandatory reporter. She needed to tell her therapist or somebody about it, because I said, I don't have any confirmation. I don't prod the child. That's not what we do. We don't try to elicit information out of them. And I just asked her what doing, and she had told me that's what her brother did to her. And I was like, it looked inappropriate. I just let the child talk. And I reported to Miss Antar and said, I said, this is not healthy. I said,
Objection, Your Honor. The witness is not an expert in child sex issues in any way, shape, or form. I don't understand how this testimony is relevant.
That objection is sustained. Attorney Curtella, you can finish asking your questions.
Yep. So, what behavior by the child did you observe that you thought you should report to Miss Antar? What caused you concern?
I witnessed the child with a teddy bear spreading its legs and humping the teddy bear in a sexual manner. And I said, stop, what are you doing? She goes, it's okay. She said a name. I don't remember which name. It was like her brother. And I was like, who's that? And it's like my brother. And I didn't really know. I didn't know her other part of the family. I didn't know the history.
Okay. All right, let me back up a little bit. How do you know Miss Antar?
We've been friends since June of last year.
All right. So, how many times have you observed the child doing things that you thought were inappropriate?
A few times, once at my house, once at her house.
Okay.
And then I've been around the child a lot. Our children play together. I have a daughter, and I have a young daughter, 8-year-old, and they all play. And
And you thought enough of these incidents that you should bring it up to Miss Antar, correct?
just that I've seen normal. I mean,
Yeah,
I have a daughter.
let me just
Yeah.
So you thought to bring it up to her, correct?
Yes. It was alarming.
As a father, not as a
father.
EMT or not as an expert in any way, just as a dad.
Yes.
All right. I have no more questions.
Sir, when's the last time you saw the party's child?
I FaceTime with them all the time. I'm around them. Probably a couple weeks ago, I've been traveling the last few weeks for work, so I mean, I've been around that
Listen
much.
to my question. When's the last time you saw the child in person?
3-4 weeks, maybe.
And what's the nature of your relationship with Ms. Antar?
We're close personal friends.
Okay, well, are you in a romantic relationship or not?
We have been, yes.
Are you now?
No.
When did that end?
Around December.
Okay. All right. I don't think we have any more questions for this witness. Sir, do you have any more questions for this witness?
No.
All right. Can we let this person go, Attorney Cretella?
Of course.
All right, sir. You're excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Lodice, do you have any questions you want me to ask, or you want to ask Ms. Antar about what she testified to?
Yes, I would.
All right. Before you do that, could you just tell me, do you know who are these young men that we're talking about? DL and SL. Who are they to you?
Those are my sons.
Your sons. Okay.
Yes. So they're not her stepbrothers, they're her brothers. She likes to put stepbrothers on there to
In your
negate the relationship.
For context, there is, and I'm sure this isn't a problem because it's a court proceeding, but just to let you know, there is a full no contact between the parties.
Yeah. How did that come up? Anybody know? Who got arrested?
I was, Your Honor.
What were you arrested for?
Well, last time, remember when I was in court a couple months ago for she had filed for her fourth protective order on me, which was thrown out, and the Judge Martin said
he should maybe be advised too if he's going to speak about his criminal case.
I know. Well, that's what
I understand. I understand that I can incriminate
myself. Just tell me what you got arrested for. Just tell me what
harassment, second degree.
And who arrested you? What department?
The Orange Police Department.
Okay. And there's a full no contact protective order?
There's a full no contact order with stipulations in there saying that we can contact via the app, and I'm allowed to make phone calls to her to talk to my daughter and to set up visitation in case there's any, to initiate contact for visitation purposes.
Okay. All right. You've answered my questions, and I'm sorry I did this out of order. Why don't you ask Ms. Antar any questions that you have?
Okay. Ms. Antar, you allege that there was multiple instances in February where Angelina was being abused. When you say that, did you mean there was multiple instances of her showing you these things, talking about the same alleged abuse that happened, or multiple times that she's being abused multiple times?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question?
So when you were saying that Angelina kept showing you throughout February multiple times that she was being abused, are you saying that she was being abused multiple times throughout February, or is she referring to the one alleged time that she was being abused?
No, the child made multiple disclosures to me since February about being abused.
So it was multiple disclosures. Okay, thank you. A second here. In October of 2022, when you claimed that that DL was doing these things, did you claim that SL was also doing these things, or just DL?
I stated that the child said SL tickled her in her private area because that's what she said at the time in October.
SL or DL?
She said both.
She said both. Now, was the investigation involving both children or just one child? Or as far as the accuser, the alleged, I don't know what term I would use, the DL and SL. Did they investigate both of them or did they just investigate one of them?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And what was the result of that investigation?
What was the result of what investigation?
The October investigation onto DL and SL. Both.
The child attended a forensic interview during which she was not able to speak because she was not able to get past the first question, and the investigation was then closed at that time.
Did you see the actual investigation? So when they do the forensics, are you present for the forensic interview?
No.
Okay. So it's the police officer and the DCF worker that's present during the interview, correct?
It's a social worker.
Okay. And then once they did this interview, they found it to be unsubstantiated, saying that it did not happen.
That's incorrect.
I'm going to object. That's a compound question. Two different questions.
Okay. Let me reword it then. So what was the DCF and the police department's final determination of their investigation?
There's currently 2 active criminal investigations.
I'm asking about the one from October.
As I stated prior, the one from October was closed in October and then reopened in February 1st, and now there's 2 open ones.
Okay. Now, the one February 1st, for the first one, did they do a forensic investigation on Angelina?
For what?
For the allegation on February 1st. Did they do a forensic investigation on Angelina for that allegation?
There was a forensic interview that took place.
Okay. What were the results of that forensic interview?
The child made disclosures about what happened to her, and it's currently still being investigated.
What was the results that DCF, Ms. Lorraine Plummer, said that the results were?
Objection, hearsay, objection.
I let her talk about this. I'm certainly going to let her talk about it again under his questioning. You can answer it. What did she say?
The DCF worker did not say anything.
So the DCF worker did not say it was being unsubstantiated?
She did not.
And then, so was there any arrest made after the investigation, the initial investigation?
Both criminal investigations are currently still pending, looking into both you and DL, and so an arrest may be made. However, it's still under investigation.
After the first the actual forensic investigation, was there any arrest made?
The criminal investigations are still pending, and no arrests have been made.
I'm not asking about the entirety of the criminal investigation. I'm asking about the forensic investigation that was taking place.
I'm not sure what I understand what your question is.
So in the forensic investigation, they have the social worker come in with the DCF, and they have DCF and the detective standing outside the room watching as the social worker works with Angelina to find out if there was anything that can be substantiated. Upon that investigation, was there any arrest made?
There's no forensic investigation. It's a forensic interview, and the child attended that interview. Both investigations are now open and they're still pending.
Okay. And then have they done a third forensic investigation yet? Or forensic interview, excuse me.
It's pending.
What day is that set for?
It's currently doesn't have a date, but it's pending.
It's pending. So they're investigating, but they haven't set a date up to do the interview yet?
I feel like you're asking a lot of questions about an active criminal investigation that I don't feel comfortable telling all the details because it's actively investigated.
Ms. Antar, you don't get to object to his questions. Your lawyer does. And there's nothing about that question that's inappropriate. So answer the question.
May you please repeat the question?
They have not scheduled a forensic interview with Angelina yet?
There was one scheduled, and it is currently on hold pending things that need to get done within the next week.
I don't understand what that means. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, Angelina will be having another forensic interview. It was scheduled for last week on Wednesday. It was then subsequently placed on hold pending police activity, and now it will be rescheduled. And once it's rescheduled, we will receive a new date.
Do you know why it was placed on hold?
I do not.
Your Honor. See if there's anything else before I continue. So when you stated that I saw Angelina the weekend of Friday, March 10th, the 11th, and then the 12th when she was dropped back off to you. Well, those are the specific details. But you stated I did see her that weekend, and she was with me and my sons, correct?
Yes, because you took her and violated the protective order and stole her from her school.
I guess objection, because none of that's factual. I didn't violate a protective order. I picked up my daughter on my day. I don't understand how that's violating a protective order.
Yeah, we'll be addressing that later.
Okay. Now, when I picked up my daughter, what if anything did you do when you found that out?
I called 911 because I immediately felt she was in danger.
Okay. What made you feel that she was in danger?
The fact that you had said to Detective Lisa Steves on February 11th, 2023, that you agreed that it was in the child's best interest.
Objection, hearsay.
Notice.
She's saying
hearsay, right?
It's not
Technically,
hearsay.
it's a party opponent.
Yeah, well, it's not responsive, so.
That's a different objection. Maybe if we, I think we're starting to deteriorate a little bit in terms.
No. I have a reason.
Don't interrupt.
Sorry.
And so maybe, and I'm not saying it's your fault, Mr. Lodice, and I'm not saying it's your fault, Ms. Antar, but maybe, because I know you have a lot you want to get off that you want to say, but just answer his questions, and then I'll have a chance to, or myself or the judge may have the chance to ask you a couple more questions afterwards. So just answer his questions instead of trying to elaborate and getting out information that you just think it's time to get out. All right?
Okay. That weekend where I picked up my daughter from daycare, how many times did you call the police on me that weekend?
What do you mean call the police on you?
How many times did you call the police departments?
I called 911 on Friday, and then I called for a wellness check from the New Britain Police Department on Saturday morning. And
Ms. Antar, maybe just a number.
Yes,
would be good.
3.
There you go.
I was contacted by 4 different police departments in the course of 2 days.
Objection. He's testifying now.
So, sir, you can ask questions now, but you can't tell me things now. Okay.
I'll have a chance to tell you after, correct? Okay. Okay. You claim that you claim that DL did things, that Angelina made claims that DL did things without clothes on, correct?
Yes.
Okay, when did she allege this the first time, or every time, or just this last time? Why? Let me reword that. When did she allege that things were done without clothes on?
She alleged it and stated it to me multiple times since since March, I believe 4th was the first time. Okay.
Now, in the last police report that was made against DL, you stated that Dominic was left alone with Angelina all day Saturday?
That's correct.
How do you know this?
Because a witness that you left, and you left her alone with Dominic.
Who's the witness?
I don't feel comfortable telling you her name.
You have to answer the question, Theodora.
Okay, Mary Elise Cofrancesco.
Who is this witness, and how would she know my schedule?
she's a friend who happens to live minutes away from you, who drove by on her way to work and noticed that you were not there.
Okay. And how did she notice I was not there? She can see inside my home?
She saw that your truck, which is your only vehicle, was not there.
Okay. And where is my truck typically parked?
Your truck is typically backed in your driveway.
Okay. And you can always see every part of the back driveway from where this person allegedly was?
Yes.
Okay. And then upon that, you figure you came to the conclusion that Angelina was left alone with Dominic all day?
I called the police and
Just answer the question, Theodora. Just answer the question.
Yes.
Okay. And what times was I gone from, and what time did I arrive back home?
I know for sure that you were gone as of 6:40 a.m. and that you were back as of 5:20 p.m.
Okay. And you know that, how do you know this?
Because Mary Elise was an eyewitness that testified this.
That testified to me leaving and coming back?
That you were not there at 6:40 and that you were there at 5:20.
But she did not see when I came back. All she saw that was I left at 6:40. Did she stay there to see if I was there throughout the day?
Yes, and she did not see you back until 5:20.
Did she see me come back home, or did she just happen to see that my car was back there?
I'm not sure.
You made a statement that I said I would agree to not let Dominic be around, or excuse me, DL be around Angelina. Who told you that I made this statement?
Detective Lisa Steves from the New Britain Police Department.
She said that I agreed that I wouldn't let Dominic be around Angelina alone at all?
She stated that you agreed that it was in Angelina's best interest to remain with me and not to have any unsupervised visitation with you until further notice throughout the duration of the criminal investigation.
Wait. Can you say that again? I didn't understand.
Yes. Detective Lisa Steves called you on February 11th, 2023 to warn you to stop harassing me and making disparaging statements during the calls. She also made it clear to you to stop telling Angelina that you would see her on Friday during the calls, and that she made it clear to you that I already told you as early as February 3rd, 2023, that I would not be sending her to your mother's on Friday until further notice, and I wasn't going to be getting any filing emergency orders. I would just be keeping her with me until further notice due to the ongoing pending DCF and criminal investigations. I said, if you have any questions, please follow up with DCF or New Britain PD, which then she followed up with you after you called her. You left her a voicemail that day. She called you back February 11th. That was a Saturday. She spoke to you. She called me back immediately when she was done speaking to you. And she stated, I spoke to Matthew. Matthew knows that there's a current investigation. Matthew knows that him and his son are considered suspects and going to be interrogated. And he agreed. And she said, you said, Dominic's going to be a little nervous, but you agree that you'll let him talk to her. And she said, you said, I agree that's in the best interest of Angelina to stay with mom until further notice for her own safety.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? You're going to just lose my video for about a minute, but I'm here and I'm listening to everything, and I'll object if I need to. Just lose video.
Your claim is that DCF said, or I'm sorry, that Officer Steves said that that I should not be around Angelina pending the investigation?
No, I claim that when you had a conversation with Detective Lisa Steves on February 11th, when she called you regarding your ongoing harassment during the phone calls that you have with the child, she warned you that you are on thin ice and you may be arrested for violating the protective order if you continue to keep harassing me and continue to keep saying to me and the child, see you Friday, when you're fully aware that the child will not be going to grandma's on Friday. I told you I'm keeping her with me until further notice on February 3rd.
Okay. Stop. Ms. Antar, there's court orders in place, and I don't think it's a great idea for you to keep repeating vehemently about how you've decided to violate them. So we're going to get back to that, but let's switch our questions here, okay?
Move on. Yep. No more questions, Your Honor.
All right, Attorney Curtello, do you have any questions for your client?
I do not.
I would just like to understand, again, the name of the DCF worker is Ms. Plummer?
Yes, that would
Is
be
that right?
Larae, Larae. Plummer is spelled Plummer.
And what department?
I believe the Milford Department.
Which department, Ms. Antar, is that right?
That's correct.
How did this, how did it wind up with Milford? You don't live in Milford, and neither does he.
I live in Orange.
Okay.
I think it went to Derby Court,
All
and
right.
then Derby goes to Milford.
All right. And then
Same
the
judicial
police department, is it the Milford Police Department also?
No.
New Brand.
That's the same department that investigated the last claim, right?
Right. The last claim was reopened in February.
And who's the, did you tell me who the police officer was?
Detective Steves, right?
Yep. And also her sergeant. I can give you his name, Jared.
Steves.
The
All right.
sergeant also involved Jared, and the last name is Barcelau, Barsaleau, I think.
Have you talked to the Ms. Branowski in Family Relations, the person who's doing the custody evaluation? Anna Maria?
We actually met with her on January 30th, and then all of these new things happened on February 1st, a few days later. So when we saw her, there were no open cases and nothing going on. And then 3 days later, Angelina made this
But
news.
you haven't talked to her about any of these things?
Not since. I've only spoken to my attorney and,
Okay. Okay. All right. Then, Attorney Curtello, anything else from your client?
No, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Lodice, let me ask you a couple questions. Is it possible for you to have your daughter with you and not have your sons alone with her?
I mean, yes, but like if I have to go somewhere like a grocery store or something, I mean, typically I'll just leave Dominic home with Angelina, and then usually when she's napping, I'll go if anything.
All right, well, do those boys live with you full time?
No, my ex and their mother and I split the time.
So are they always with you and Angelina's with you?
Yes.
Is that how the weekends work?
Yep.
Can we switch to weekends?
Yeah. Is it possible for you to have Angelina with you when the boys aren't there until this is done?
Not really. It's kind of the only way the schedule that works out with my ex and myself is I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until Monday morning with all the children.
Is it possible that is it possible either one of the parties could follow my court orders or Judge Griffin's court orders that say that when the children are with you, they're not alone, and Ms. Antar, the father, Angelina goes to her dad's on the regular schedule? Is it possible that can happen?
Yes, I can make sure that the children are not alone with Angelina. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think you're going to have to, sir. You understand that?
I do.
Right. Have you had conversations with this police? All right, let me listen. I'm going to swear you in, Mr. Lodice, but listen.
Please do.
I want to tell you something. You do not. Ms. Lodice has made criminal allegations against you, both in relation to the protective orders and in relation to Angelina. There's criminal cases pending. So, number one, nobody can force you to testify about things like that. But number two, it's also a very bad idea to testify about things like that. So one is in relation to your Fifth Amendment privilege. You have the right not to remain silent in the face of questions regarding pending criminal cases. Do you understand that?
Of course.
And it's also, I'm going to go a step further and say it's just a bad idea for you to talk about those things when you're under oath. You understand that?
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay, so I have some questions for you. Attorney Cretella has some questions for you, but they're not going to be about the accusations that Ms. Antar made against you, and they're not going to be about the accusations she made about Angelina and DL. You understand that?
Okay.
And if we're getting into those areas, I don't really want you to answer those questions without giving it some serious thought.
Okay.
All right. Would you swear the gentleman in?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Matthew Lodice, 23 Lyman Street, apartment number 2, New Britain, Connecticut, 06053.
All right. Mr. Lewis, have you talked to this DCF worker?
I have, multiple times.
Okay. And do you feel like you're cooperating with the DCF worker?
100%, yes.
What does this person ask you to do?
This person had asked to come to my house and just do an in-home inspection, and then this person asked that I don't leave Dominic alone with Angelina before the forensic interview, up until the forensic interview results.
Okay. And when did you have that conversation with DCF?
I don't know the exact day, but I would say probably the end of February.
Did this DCF worker tell you that they were recommending you couldn't have Angelina with you?
No.
All right. And did you abide by did you do those two things they asked you to do?
Well, I never even saw Angelina, so yes, I didn't really have the option either way.
All right. Did they come to your house? DCF came to your house?
Yes.
And did they talk to Dominic?
Yep. Not this last time. They have not talked to Dominic yet.
They talked to him in October.
They talked to me. They talked to Dominic in October. This time they talked to me. We were going to set up a time for them to meet with me and the kids. But then after the forensic interview, they decided to cancel it because they were unsubstantiating it.
That was in October?
No, this was in the second one, which was in February. But then before they closed it, she had made another claim, so they couldn't close it because once she makes another claim, they automatically have to keep it open and start it over.
So are you saying, let me make sure I got this right, that the same thing happened in October and February, which is that this forensic interview was scheduled and then canceled?
Nope, it was not canceled. So the forensic interview happened in October.
Okay.
The second forensic interview happened in February. Both times it was unsubstantiated and found that there was no evidence of abuse.
Okay. Notwithstanding that, is it possible that you can make sure that Dominic and Angelina aren't left alone with you?
For the time during the investigation, yes, I would have no problem with that.
And you saw Angelina in March?
I saw Angelina for one weekend in March, yes.
And when was the last time you'd seen her before that?
About 6.5 weeks prior. Well, no, it would be 7 weeks prior that I saw her. It was 6 weeks that I didn't see her.
Okay. And when is your weekend schedule with her supposed to be?
Theodora, Miss Antar is supposed to be dropping her off at my mother's house from Friday morning at 9 a.m., where she remains in my custody until Monday morning when I drop her off at daycare.
All right. Is it this weekend, your weekend coming up?
I have every weekend like that.
It's every weekend?
It's every weekend.
Okay. Are the boys with you every weekend?
Yes.
Okay. And have you talked to some police officers in relation to this claim?
Yes, I did. I met with Detective Steves multiple times.
What's your understanding of what's going on in that investigation?
From my understanding is they were going to schedule a third forensic interview, but they canceled the forensic interview because they don't want to do another one and subject Angelina to that. upon me presenting the evidence that I was home all day Saturday. I brought video footage to the detective's office and showed them that I was there, that the kids were there with timestamps. She took multiple pictures of different timestamps throughout the day of me being there. And so I don't believe they're going to be doing a third interview. They're not sure if they wanted to. Miss Antar keeps pushing for a third interview. They're hesitant to do it because they don't want to subject Angelina to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Attorney Patel, do you have any questions?
Just very few. There was a day in question when about the time. There was one day that you had left at 6:40 and you were back at 5:20. You remember those series of questions?
Yep.
Is it your testimony that you were back throughout the day?
I was home all day except for there was from 12:15 to 12:44. Actually, I left at 12:07 and came back at 12:44 for going to Aldi's and going grocery shopping.
All right, so you didn't leave the house at 6:40.
Nope.
And then, I'm not talking. I don't want to ask about what happened in the past, but in terms of the future, while you were watching the children, say you have all three, your two sons and your daughter, on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is there besides you?
Just the three of us typically.
The four, you mean?
Well, four of us, yeah. But lately it's been just the three of us.
Right.
Because
so if there comes a time when you do have to go to the store, what will you do to?
What will I do? At this point, I'll have to bring them, or I'll have to shop before they come.
Okay. So it is possible if you do have to leave the house to bring your daughter with you, but leave the two boys behind, correct?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, just the same.
Okay. Or take everybody together.
Or take everybody together, yes.
Okay. All right. I have no more questions.
Okay. Do you have any other witnesses, Mr. Lodice?
No, just myself. I'd like to give some personal testimony before our decision is rendered.
All right. Well, they are the moving party, and I think I'm going to make a decision based on the testimony and case that they've put on. Okay. So, Attorney Credella, anything else?
The only thing I would say, Your Honor, is I think Ms. Antar is very concerned for her daughter. I think that in the court, I think you could distinguish between the way I think Mr. Lodice put it was not substantiated, so it didn't happen. I think there's a distinction between non-substantiation and it actually happening or not. I would like at the very minimum, especially at least until next week, that the current order remain in effect, that the minor daughter not be alone with the sons.
Your Honor, since I'm not going to be able to give testimony, may I ask more questions then to the plaintiff?
I don't think it's going to be necessary, Mr. Lodice. So, look, what's before the court today is a very narrow issue, which is under the emergency custody statute. Is the party's minor child in immediate threat of physical harm or physical injury or psychological harm or emotional harm if she's left in the care of her father? And the evidence that I've heard before me indicates that's not true. The history of this case is important in making this decision. Ms. Antar has been leveling accusations against Mr. Lodice that he doesn't care properly for their child throughout the very lengthy history of this case. This is one of the longest and not longest, but most active cases in this district. It's got hundreds of pleadings. Ms. Antar has made many, many, many accusations against Mr. Lodice. While there have been criminal issues, and Mr. Lodice has been arrested, both parties have been arrested, I should say, on criminal matters between them, there's never been any credible evidence before this court that Mr. Lodice is an ineffective or unsafe parent. The accusations that led to this latest request for emergency custody are the same accusations that were leveled by Ms. Antar and then apparently found unsubstantiated and not pursued by the police department in October. So I cannot say that there is a need for emergency orders. There's simply no credible evidence before me that would suggest that that's the case. The only evidence I have is the testimony of let's call him a lay witness, a current or former romantic partner of the moving party, whose testimony I'm just going to say was not especially reliable. I have Ms. Antar's testimony, which on past occasions and today I will find is simply not reliable before this court, because it's so obviously motivated by her dislike and distrust of Mr. Lodice. And I do have some testimony that parties agree on, which I will rely on, which is that these are repeat allegations made by a very young child, a child who goes to daycare, goes to doctors, has independent eyes on her on a regular basis. Referrals have not been made by any other source other than the sources that Ms. Antar has contact with. So those referrals, from this court's perspective, are somewhat suspect. However, there's pending investigations. Both parties agree that DCF and the police department are looking into these investigations. So in light of that testimony, I will enter some orders in the custody case based on what I would say is simply a lower evidentiary standard or a lower statutory standard. But I do not have enough reliable evidence to sustain emergency orders under the emergency order statute. It's simply not appropriate. So the request for emergency orders is denied. There's not enough proof to meet the standard, not enough reliable proof to meet the standards set out in 46B 56F. However, in light of these two investigations, which apparently are ongoing, I will enter orders in the underlying custody case that the parties' current custody and access orders remain in place. Ms. Antar, the child goes to her father on the regular schedule. However, Mr. Lodice, you are not to leave the children alone with their stepbrothers until these investigations are cleared. That is for your daughter's sake and also for your son's sake. But regardless of what your motivation is, it's a court order. So, Ms. Antar, I can't stress this enough. The child goes to her father on the regular schedule, and the father is in charge of making sure that while these investigations are pending, both police and DCF, that the child's not left alone with her brothers. So you have no authority, ma'am, zero, to withhold the child from the father on the regular schedule. We will have a hearing on April 5th, which I think is next week, and address some of these regular custody concerns. But I want to be clear with you, Ms. Antar, that you understand that the child goes to the father on the regular access schedule. Do you understand that?
Your Honor, may I please say something?
No, I want you to tell me that you understand what I'm saying to you.
I don't understand, because I'm saying that you're saying I'm not credible, but you didn't allow me to show any evidence at all. And
Ms. Antar, I want you to understand. Tell me you understand that the child goes on the regular access schedule and that is going to happen. Please tell me that.
The child is in danger, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to protect my daughter. My daughter's in danger.
Ms. Antar, you are not the only person you're not the only parent, and you're not the only person who gets to decide this. I've listened to your case many, 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 many times, and I am telling you now that the child goes to the father on the regular schedule, and the father has to ensure that while these investigations are pending, the child's not left alone with the stepbrothers. And if you can't follow those orders, that's going to be a problem for you and the relief that you're requesting from this court on your custody cases. So you need to follow the court orders, Ms. Antar. Those are the orders.
The problem is that Mr. Lodice says he's not going to leave her with Dominic, but then he does. And if I ask for a wellness check, he refuses to open the door for police. So what's stopping him from doing what he did last time? Also, the order says I'm supposed to bring her to grandma's. It doesn't say dad gets her from school. And so he went and took her from school. That's not what the order says. I haven't brought my daughter to school since March 10th. I'm scared. I'm paying 100% of the daycare. And he doesn't pay any child support. He hasn't paid a dime of child support or child care since June when he put him in jail to pay it. Now, I'm scared to bring her to school because the order doesn't say Matthew picks her up on Friday from school. He went and picked her up anyway. He took her that day, even knowing that this investigation.
Ms. Antar, listen to me. You have no right to deprive this child of her relationship with her father. Zero right to do that.
How can I prove that I was done with it then?
And listen to me. You are asking this court for custody orders, and one of the things that the court has to consider in custody orders is the ability of both parents to facilitate and value the relationship of the child with the other parent. And this is very problematic for you when you decide all on your own that you're going to withhold the child from the father. It's not like you're making other arrangements. It's not like you're letting the father see the child anyplace else.
I tried to speak to DCF about that, and that's why Mr. Lodice is lying. Lorraine Plummer,
Ms. Antar, stop.
DCF said we were working on setting up supervised visits. That's the last time
Ms.
I spoke to
Antar,
her.
Ms. Antar, I've made my orders. I expect you to follow them. So those are the court orders. I'm telling you right now, these hearings are happening in person in the future because this video format is really too troublesome. So I understand, Attorney Cretella, that this hearing came up at the last minute, and I appreciate your working on your vacation to be present for it. However, going forward, we have to have these hearings in person, and the video proceedings are too difficult. So those are the court orders. The father needs to have his access time with the child. The father needs to follow the court orders about not leaving the child alone with stepbrothers while these investigations finish. And that's it. I will see everyone for this hearing next week. I will tell you that I told Family Relations to reach out to everyone to get some additional information about these new allegations. So you can expect to hear from Family Relations, hopefully before.
And the pickup drop-off would be in accord with the current order where mom drops the child off at Mr. Lodice's mother's.
Yeah.
Well, yes, unless the mother's not doing that, in which case, if the father wants to pick the child up at school, I guess I'm going to have to allow that. So I don't know, Attorney Cretella. What are we going to do?
Your Honor.
Let me inquire. Ms. Antar, are you going? I mean, maybe Your Honor should ask this question.
Listen, the child's you should be following court orders. The child should be dropped off at the paternal grandmother's house. So, Ms. Antar, that's your responsibility. That's what you need to do.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd also like to ask that we don't allow any more continuances for this case, because we need to get in front of you for this custody and what's been going on, because I'm really have not been seeing my daughter.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting to see
and all they keep doing, every time we're supposed to be in front of the judge, like a day or two before, Ms. Antar's lawyer postpones it another 2 months, and this happened like three times already.
The reason that's happening, Mr. Lodice, is because you continually not give me the rest of the discovery. We still don't have all the discovery.
You have all the financial discovery. I don't understand how the financial discovery is relevant to our custody.
Mr. Lodice, you do need to provide Attorney Cretella with all the documents that he asked for. And listen, if you don't do that, you run the risk that the court might make an adverse inference. That is to say, I'm just going to assume that you didn't produce the documents because what Attorney Cretella was looking for is correct. So it doesn't help you.
I know that, Your Honor, and I have since provided them everything.
I will see you April 5th. I expect everyone to follow the court orders. I don't want another situation where I'm hearing about people not following court orders. So, Attorney Cretella, it sounds like you're going to have a conversation with your client.
I will. And there is one piece of discovery that Mr. Lodice has not provided. He said there was some account that began with an M, and I don't have the file.
Milestone. I'm having trouble. I've been trying to get it. I'll call again today. It's like an overseas credit card company that's been closed on me already. So it's like I keep calling them and I keep getting recordings. They don't have like an actual call center. They don't have an online site I can sign into. I'm like really trying to get all this information, and I have no way of getting it.
So if I don't have that by the end of the week, I may be filing for another continuance.
Can we subpoena the company then to get that information? Can I subpoena the company? Is it possible for that? I don't understand. Because I've been trying.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you that I'm not going to grant any continuances. We're going to get started, at least on the custody piece.
Fair enough.
And if we need some additional time to get the financial documents, I'll certainly give you time to do that, Attorney Cretella. But we got to get started on some of this.
Fair enough.
And Mr. Lodice, you better make every effort. You can talk to Attorney Cretella when he gets back from vacation about what you have that might satisfy his request. That might be a good idea.
I will. And I can even go down to his office and try to do it in front of him so he can see I'm actively trying to get this information.
You two can work that out.
You can do that by phone. All right.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Your Honor.